This girl had to keep in her stomach a bag of strange blue powder, but it accidentally broke off, giving her incredible superpowers. Find out what happened next from our recap of the movie, Lucy. We see a huge metropolis life is in full swing. People bustle around like ants, constantly rushing somewhere. Our main character's name is Lucy. She is 25 years old and she has come to study in Taiwan. Her new boyfriend Richard offers the girl to earn a lot of money by delivering a client a briefcase with an unknown content. But Lucy is not feeling well after last night's party, so she refuses. Then Richard takes the girl's hand and handcuffs her. He says the only person who has the key is the client, Mr. Chan, and shoves the money into her dress. Lucy has no choice. She comes to the hotel and asks the administrator to call for Mr. Chan. We see a group of men in business suits. They shoot Richard, grab Lucy, and drag her somewhere as if they were a group of wild predators, and the girl is their prey. Lucy is locked in one of the rooms. The room is entered by a man with his hands and face covered in red spots. The girl begs to save her, but no one will help her because Mr. Chan is the leader of the Korean mafia. The man writes some numbers on a piece of paper. It's the code to open the lock on the case. They point a gun at the girl and demand that she opens the case. Lucy does what they said. Inside, she finds 4 bags of blue powder into the room. The men drag a man with a thoughtless look and follows him to taste the powder. He does so and starts convulsing, after which he laughs madly and gets shot. Mr. Chen offers Lucy a job, and after she refuses, he knocks the girl out with his fist. In the next scene, we see a man giving a lecture on the origin of life on Earth. He is Professor Norman. He says that animals use their brain at 5% and humans at 10%. But it'd be great to use it more effectively. Back to our Lucy. She wakes up on a bed in a fancy hotel room and notices that her blanket is stained with its stains. Her stomach hurts terribly. It was bandaged up by someone while the girl was unconscious. The mafia enters the room and throws the hero in some clothes she has taken to Mr. Chan. The girl discovers that she was put to sleep, and now in her stomach is the bag of the very blue powder. It is necessary for Lucy to smuggle the powder to Europe. There are 4 bags in the case, so they need 4 people, and we see 3 more men with bandaged bellies brought to the room. They are warned if they go to the police, the mafia will immediately reprisal their families. At this time, Professor Norman in his lecture talks about the most important asset for people: time. If life is full of dangers, living creatures strive for immortality. And if all is well, they actively reproduce in order to pass on their genes and knowledge to new generations. But let's get back to Lucy. The girl is brought to some abandoned building where she gets chained up and touched by men. She fights back and gets hit in the face again. And then there are many blows into her stomach. The girl cries out in pain and sees that the stitches on her stomach have come apart. She realizes that the bag inside has been torn. Lucy begins to cramp. The blue powder spreads over her body at an enormous rate. Suddenly, she flies upward up the wall and then up the ceiling. This powder is much more than it looks at the same time. Professor Norman says that if a man can learn to use his brain fully, he can control himself and others and even control matter. That seems to be exactly what's happening to our Lucy. Right now, she comes to her senses and her eyes glow incredibly blue. The girl sits still for a while. One of the mobsters enter her cell, and Lucy defiantly spreads her legs. The man begins to take off his pants, at which point the girl easily rolls him onto the ground and takes a weapon from him. She walks out of the cell, takes the lives of several more mobsters, and greedily pounces on the food. Lucy eats a lot and cannot stop. The girl notices that she is hurt, but she doesn't seem to feel any pain. She picks up a bag full of guns, throws on someone's shirt, and goes outside with a gun in her hand. Lucy finds a cab and demands the driver to take her to the hospital along the way. The girl realizes that she has developed a super hearing and supervision at the hospital. She immediately bursts into the operating room and says that she needs help. Lucy points a gun at the surgeons, takes the life of their patient, throws him onto the floor, and lies down in his place. The girl tells them to take a bag of blue powder out of her stomach, and without any anesthesia, she's becoming a real Terminator during the surgery. Lucy speaks by phone with her mother. She has tears streaming down her cheeks. She says that now she feels absolutely everything in the world and remembers every moment of her life. The surgeon pulls a torn bag out of her belly and tells her how this miracle powder works. After the surgery, Lucy goes outside and sees the whole world in a very vibrant color. She even seems to be able to see through objects. The girl returns to the hotel and finds Mr. Chan with a gun in her hand. She easily takes out all the mafia. Lucy finds Mr. Chan hurts him badly and uses telepathy to find out the destination of the other couriers. They are in Berlin, Paris, and Rome. Lucy arrives at her friend's house and asks for a laptop. We learned that her brain is now working at 28%. Lucy studies all of Professor Norman's work in 10 minutes, contacts him, and tells him her story and asks for a meeting. She demonstrates her abilities. She controls the TV cell radio and even electricity. She confesses that she feels no pain or fear, just absolute knowledge. Lucy completely changes her appearance and calls a policeman named Pierre Del Rio. She asks him to arrest the other carriers of the blue powder and give this miracle drug to her. Otherwise, the girl will simply not survive. The police catch the first courier in Berlin, the second one in Paris, and the third one in Rome. At this time, Lucy also flies to Paris. Her brain is already looking at 40% on board. The girl takes a glass of champagne, chokes on the drink, and spits it out and spits out some of her teeth. She notices that her skin is starting to evaporate. The heroin literally melts before our eyes. Lucy locks herself in the bathroom and takes the rest of the blue powder she has, after which she loses touch with reality. The girl wakes up in the hospital. She is blonde again. Her brain is working at 50%. She changes into a fancy dress and leaves the room. She is met by the same policeman, Pia Del Rio. With an easy move of her hand, she puts all the people in the corridor to sleep and discharges the policeman's weapon. The girl demands that he takes her to the other couriers together. They go to the hospital where she is met by the other carriers. Lucy realizes that she can see the particles of matter and can even control them with her superpowers. She learns that the mobsters are already very close by while Lucy rushes to the hospital. The mobsters manage to take the lives of all the police officers, finish operating on one carrier, and begin to operate on the second. The police car rushes through the city at a breakneck speed, causing many other cars to crash. But Lucy does not care about this. Her only goal is to get the blue powder. And finally, she's in the hospital. Everybody is in a commotion. Lucy demands that the mobsters give her a briefcase with the powder. He laughs, and suddenly all the criminals' weapons fly to the ceiling. The mobsters wave their fists but go up to the ceiling too. She calmly picks up the briefcase with the bags, kisses the policeman, and goes to Professor Norman. Lucy tells the professor and several other scientists how she can access all hidden corners of her brain and demonstrates how her hand can change the mafia. Led by Mr. Chen, arrive at the building and demolishing everything in their path, they try to get to Lucy. The cops try to hold them off while at the same time the scientists help inject the rest of the blue powder into the girl's body and thus increase her usage of her brain to 100%. Before our eyes, the woman creates a kind of a computer into which he transmits all the knowledge she has. The mafia, led by Mr. Chen, continue fighting and gradually move closer and closer at her own will. Lucy is transported to different places and times. In the past, she sees modern cities, New York, in 1903 nomadic Indian tribes, Australopithecus dinosaurs, and even the creation of Earth and the universe. At this time, Mr. Chan enters the room where Lucy is. He slowly walks up behind her and points his weapon at the back of her head. The moment Chan pulls the trigger, loses. Brain efficiency reaches 100%, and the woman disappears. All that's left is her dress and shoes. Mr. Chan is confused, and with the gun in his hand, asks the professor and the scientists, "Where is she?" Pietro Rio bursts into the office, takes Chan's life, and asks the same question the computer Lucy created, gives Professor Norman a large flash drive, and crumbles to dust. The policeman looks at his phone and sees the message, "I am everywhere." The movie ends with Lucy saying, "Life was given to us billions of years ago. Now you know what to do with it." We suggest you watch a couple more of our recaps to get your brain working at full capacity. You've been watching the Film Reel channel.